Why did you slap my ass for? 1 second after. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Right. Do we need to give you a code name, or should we just not refer to your name?
I don't have a name.
Okay. This is my friend who has no name. He's a nameless man. Hello everybody, welcome back to another video by DissociaDID. Today I'm here with my friend. He is here. Say hi.
Hi.
But he's not on the camera. Why? Because people are really, really weird about people who are in our life, and we are doing this to protect his identity. So I hope you can understand that and please respect that. This friend, it's going to be really weird to try and not name you. We knew when we were in high school. He has some insights to share with us. And we're just going to have a chat about what it was like knowing someone who had DID before any of us knew that we had DID. And in hindsight, what kind of signs were visible that none of us really picked up on before we knew.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Let's do it. Well.
Things will randomly come up in conversation where you will be like, oh yeah, I remember this odd thing that now in hindsight makes loads of sense now that we know you had DID. And one of the things that we were talking about when we were thinking about, okay, what have we talked about before that we can talk about in a video, was you said in school we had different emotions at different points in the day, more so than an average person just having different feelings.
I think I've said to you before that it wasn't just a case of you would be particularly happy, say, in the morning, and then something can happen during the course of anyone's day where something maybe not so good happens, or you get in trouble in a lesson or whatever, and then you're a bit subdued.
Yeah.
It was over and above, like you could start the day and be the happiest you've ever been, and then literally 2 lessons later, so like 2 hours later, we would like maybe bump into you in the corridor and you didn't want to make eye contact with anyone, didn't want to speak to anyone, maybe the odd sort of grunt, and then you would just kind of disappear.
Really?
Yes, I think there was one occasion I was in the main corridor at school, heading to, I think, maths. You were walking the other way, which was odd because I think you should have been going in the same direction as me.
Oh no.
And I went to say hi, and you just totally blanked me, walked past in the direction of like, I don't know, literally the opposite end of the school. And I was like, okay, that was weird. Yeah, but this is the thing. I think I'd spoken to you about it later on, and you'd had no idea what had happened. But you looked, it wasn't even just miserable, you looked like gone.
Oh fuck.
So that was intriguing. But then at the time I thought I'd done something wrong. I was like, what can I possibly have done?
I feel really bad about this. I'm sorry we made you feel like you did something wrong.
Oh, that's okay. No, it wasn't your fault.
I wonder where we were going.
God knows. Because I presume the reason for you being in that kind of state was because you perhaps had a confrontation with someone, or someone had spoken to you, or something had triggered you in some way, and therefore you were just like almost on kind of autopilot, like I need to get out of whatever this situation is. So you just, or someone had just taken you off and away from that, and therefore you didn't even register who I was, much less that I was talking to you. Yeah,
because the weird thing is that all the people that I remember being, so Chloe, Kyle, Nina, I think were the only people that that were around during that period of time. All of us were very, very good at masking. Even if we were in a really shitty, triggered space, we would have a smile on our face as much as possible, and we would say hello to people, and we would interact as normally as possible until we could get somewhere else. So if someone had actively said hi to us and we grunted at them or blanked them, that definitely wasn't either Chloe, Nina, or Kyle.
Well, I say grunt, it was like you went to speak, but nothing properly came out in terms of words. So it's more like a...
That's even more weird.
Rather than like, hey, how are you? Which is like your typical greeting. You know, hi, are you alright?
Yeah.
None of that. It was just like, hi.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that definitely doesn't sound like me.
Very subdued.
Yeah. I guess that I could see how stuff like that would have been easily written off as they were in a bad mood.
Yeah.
But looking back on how I acted when I was in a bad mood, that's not how I would have acted. And then if you confronted us later and like what was going on and we had no memory of it, it was probably a switch.
Or somewhere between.
Very dissociated.
Like mid-switch.
Oh shit, yeah, we could have been actively switching.
Yeah.
Did you remember what our eyes were doing? I mean, you were probably walking past us quite quickly, to be fair.
Very kind of starey, but not starey, if that makes any sense. Like looking at something that isn't there. I would describe it as spaced out.
Right.
But
yeah,
like...
dissociating probably then.
Yeah, exactly.
Or switching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Which leads me to believe that something had happened to trigger that kind of state just prior to that, which probably means you came across someone that you didn't want to see or speak to.
Probably. I mean, that happened a lot. So,
Yeah.
you know, school was full of not very good people.
Awful
Not very good
people.
people, children and adults. Some of whom who are currently in jail. Probably like
Some of whom should be.
Yes. Weird, because I thought that we were always, well, all one mood, very happy Chloe.
But I also think you were accustomed to people not paying attention to you.
Yes, very much.
To tell you the truth. So, the group that you kind of hung out with were quite loud characters in terms of not even just like their volume, but like their
personalities were
big, and therefore, if you surround yourself with those types of people, if you're withdrawn and you know you're prone to being withdrawn, even subconsciously, then
you can go under the radar.
You can go under the radar completely, and you won't have to worry about it.
I do remember.
You know that no one's paying attention to you, so if you know you're acting a bit weird or you feel a bit weird on that day, no one's going to notice.
I do remember there being some days where we were surrounded by that group where we literally I couldn't even mask. I was so heavily depressed that I couldn't even pretend to smile, and I would be silent for like the whole break and nobody ever noticed. But then the boyfriend that I was with at the time, he liked to cut us off from people, so that probably helped me go under the radar a little bit. I do remember this as well. I've got this because it was written in our diary, so I've read it a number of times in our diary. But there was a period of time where we had some very, very severe pain in our shoulder. Couldn't realise why. I now know why. It was because we'd been thrown around a bit a couple of days beforehand, and it really fucked up our shoulder and our neck. It's still not great. But we were like, oh, maybe our bag's been too heavy. Yeah. We were very, very hurt. It was in my form. She was saying, I know that you're in a lot of pain because, bearing in mind, this was in like year 10. So this had been like 4 years of high school. She said, this is the first time that I've ever seen you come into form or be in form and not be smiling. So I can tell that you're in a lot of pain. And I remember that like surprising me. Kind of impressive that we were always smiling for 4 years in form. That's like some crazy masking skills. Or, you know, someone was just very happy around. And then for the pain to be bad enough that it had actually actively interrupted our masking to the point where other people were noticing the amount of pain we were in was probably quite significant. But we were in a lot of pain. But yeah, I know that because it's written in our diaries.
God, that's dark.
No bit.
Jesus.
It's not that. Is that dark?
Just the fact that you were that accomplished at masking everything, that regardless of how horrible a time you were having or how bad of a mood you were actually in, no one noticed, apart from that one time when you were in so much physical agony that there was actually nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. Okay, when you feel like that, it doesn't sound so great, does it?
No.
No. Okay, what else do we have on our little list? You remember a lot about Nadia.
I do, but I think that's because that was almost your way of dealing, like the system's way of dealing with being at school. Almost.
Yeah, she was very sociable, so she was out a lot.
Like, so there's people all over the place, and like opportunities for her to do creative stuff, which she would have loved. So therefore, I think that's why I saw more of her than I would have done any other alter other than Chloe, I suppose. But then, now, looking back, I don't know how much of what I knew as Chloe was Chloe, and how much was Nadia, which just blows my tiny mind.
The thing is that I can't really help you with that much because I don't remember very much. If you spoke to me about a specific memory, I could probably tell you I, as Chloe, would have acted like that, or I probably wouldn't have acted like that as Chloe. You know what I mean?
Well, that's good to know.
You went like that. You went, okay.
That's good to know.
She's on the move.
She's had enough.
She's had enough.
She's had enough
of my shit. You've had enough of my shit. Everybody's had enough of my shit.
End of video. Bye, guys.
It was nice to see you. If you feel like donating to our crowd justice fundraiser, please consider it. Please do, though, genuinely. We have a crowd justice fundraiser to raise funds for us to be able to afford our legal bills. So if you would like to, you can find the link to down here. But we're not done with the video, so we shall continue.
We shall continue.
We shall continue.
My experiences of Nadia at school. See, I always thought, I remember, because I took art as a GCSE.
Yeah, same.
No, but I remember asking for advice because I thought you were all sort of like incredible at art. So I remember asking for help. What I now know to be Nadia being very excited to be A, asked, B, just immediately being like, well, I have 101 ideas.
Yeah.
So let me just info dump all of them to you at once. And me going, okay, and not really knowing where to start with any of them. I was like, excellent, But just in case, tell me everything you just said again, I wasn't listening. But she was very excited to be asked about it.
Well, that sounds like her. She was very excited about pretty much everything.
Yeah, sunshine in human form.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say Nadia was sunshine in human form.
You're always very good if I had a problem.
Good, I'm glad.
Which, as we know, I had lots of problems and continue to have a number of them.
We're still here for you, don't we?
Like, I would always, like, come to you guys because you were just very kind of caring.
I'm glad. I'm glad you felt safe around us.
I did.
Good.
Which is saying something because that school was not a safe place.
No, that school was something else.
Awful. Awful.
Yeah. Jail.
Prison.
Prison.
Although I suppose this kind of goes back to your changing behaviour and it being quite abrupt. So you could start off the day in a horrible mood, for example, the opposite to what I described earlier.
Yes.
I'd maybe see you at lunchtime or something, or go to pass me when I was on my way somewhere else, and you would like run up to me and just like kind of grab me by the shoulders and be like, "Hi, how are you? I haven't seen you today."
Oh.
And be just very happy to see me. Which I just thought was just a case of like, oh, okay, you know, just particularly excited to see me, I suppose. Like, if it,
We were always excited.
which made more sense if
apparently
it was...
we weren't, but I was going to say, we're always excited to see you, but apparently someone was just grunting at you in the hallways every now and again.
Well,
I was always very excited to see you.
Well, this
Not
is
that
what I mean.
excited, sorry.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Nadia was kind of a lot.
Yeah, but in a fun way.
Yeah, she was a fun girl.
A fun gal.
She did drain the body's energy a lot.
Which I suppose is why the difference in your behaviour was so stark, because in the morning it would be a case of you were one way perhaps when I'd seen you first thing in the morning before we went off to our first lessons. 2 hours later it was break time and you were behaving completely differently.
Yeah.
So perhaps that was part of the reason why I was like, oh god, that's a heck of a change from earlier on.
And you didn't see other people changing moods and feel the same kind of like, oh, that's a lot.
Not to that extent. I mean, like I say, obviously sometimes you have a bad lesson, you get picked on in class and you feel embarrassed because like you didn't know the answer or something, or someone's really annoyed you during your lesson or nicked your pen or something, you're in a bad mood because, you know, that's what teenagers get annoyed about. But it was like, it was more than that.
I mean,
It wasn't ever anger though. I didn't ever see you angry. I don't think I've ever seen you angry.
No, I don't think you would have done either. All of us have had a hard time dealing with anger.
God for that.
I mean, that's why Ruby is so...
I don't want to meet
Ruby
in that context.
I think you'd have to drive very fucking hard for Ruby to be angry at you. And Ruby likes you anyway, she knows you, so...
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man!
Yeah, man.
What's up, bro? Sorry, I don't know what else.
Stop.
Sorry. Might got a bit close.
I thought so.
Did you catch that, did you?
Yeah.
How long have we been filming for?
I honestly don't know if any of that is helpful to you.
Very helpful. I mean, honestly, even just to me, it's interesting for me to hear it because I don't have any of these insights at all. Did you ever notice us acting differently around different people? Like, for example, if it was close by. Did you ever notice much of a difference?
Yes.
Right. Or even like, you know, that whole group.
When people that you were deeply uncomfortable with were nearby, it wasn't just that you were kind of slightly out of it, it was actively withdrawn.
Oh, shit.
And like kind of closed off behaviour, I suppose.
Because I don't remember anything about the way I was behaving, I just remember the way I felt. And one time that I snapped.
See, this is the thing, I don't think I'd ever seen you snap at anyone.
Well, I'd learned that didn't work. Fighting back didn't work, especially around people like because he just didn't react to anything. No pain, no force, like he was literally completely immovable.
If anything, it made his behaviour worse if you fought back.
Yeah, so we learned to be just deal with it. Fawn. What?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm a little bit angry, but other than that, yeah, I'm totally fine. Not at you. It's okay.
You were probably just trying to do what was safest or what was going to garner the least attention from other people.
Yeah.
And therefore keep you safest.
I mean, to be fair, any reaction that we had, he would use. Gather, you know, he was quite...
In a manipulative sense.
Yes.
Very intelligent.
Yeah. So, like, any emotional or physical response we had to something, he was looking for it and he'd pick it up and use it. So, being as non-responsive as possible was the safest thing for us to do. Jumpiness.
Yes, which I also feel like other people, that person included, did sort of exploit because they thought it was funny.
Yeah. All my friends and my abusers found it hilarious to make us jump or panic because we were very reactive to loud noises or people coming up behind us or touching us. We would jump and react.
This is the other thing. You almost always positioned yourself in a way that meant that either people couldn't come up behind you, so you would stand in where you guys would like hang out in the mornings, which is when I would often see you. You would stand in a corner.
Yes.
So you were like had your back against the corner and a wall to either side, so no one could physically be behind you.
Yeah, and I could see everything.
And the
where
table
people were coming from.
where you would sit in sort of the canteen, you would sit so that you could see the doors.
Yeah.
So that people weren't behind you.
It's crazy that you noticed that.
But it's just in hindsight, that's where you were all the time. You didn't switch around and sit in other places. That's where you were. That's the position you put yourself in. Like, you didn't go as far as, like, sidling up the walls in the main corridor to get to your...
Like crab walking along the corridors. Look, it's a mess.
But I suppose that was the other thing, going back to our sort of earlier point about the time where you were sort of very not aware of what was going on. That was different to how you normally were, because you would be paying attention to what's going on around you, lest someone be coming up behind you to like grab hold of you or to try and make you jump. And the fact that you weren't doing that, you were just kind of singularly focused on just moving that way, just wherever you were going, without sort of even looking around at all, which was not normal behaviour for you, which is what led me to believe that there was a problem.
Right. Yeah, well, that makes a lot of sense, because I do remember being very hyper aware and like hyper aroused, especially in the corridors, because
there's just a lot going on, to be fair.
Yeah, but also people would come up behind us and grope us or hurt us,
like grabbing hold of your bag handles and stuff,
like really hard between our ribs and stuff.
That is really painful, to be fair.
It is, especially when it's happening about 18 times a day in the same spot.
You must have bruises. We
had bruises all up and down our torso, yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, that was like mild, so, you know, it was just like, I wish they wouldn't do that. It hurts a lot, but it wasn't like, oh, go to jail. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if someone's continuing to do stuff that's actively hurting you, regardless of how many times you tell them to stop, that is...
Well, I think the other stuff that they were doing was definitely jail-worthy, but
hey-ho.
But hey-ho.
God. It just makes it seem like we went to school in, like, some sort of borstal or something.
A decent amount of people did end up in jail, didn't they?
Yeah.
Teachers and students.
I was aware of.
Attempted murder for some of them.
For one of them, definitely.
I love it when people are like, how could anything so bad possibly happen to you? And I was like, well... And that's the teenage years, so that's later stuff. So again, something that objectively should have been noticed as... That's not a normal response to somebody coming nearby you, or a loud noise, or someone touching you. Your response should not be to try and hide from it, run away from it, scream, or generally put myself in a protective position. To them it was, oh, this is really funny, let's do it on a regular basis.
It was the screaming, I remember, because you would yelp.
Would I yelp?
Yeah.
Like a dog?
No, like a yelp in the sense that it was like a short, sharp scream.
Right.
Before you almost went, oh, okay, I need to control that.
Cut that off real quick.
Stop that.
Right, yeah.
But you clearly wanted to be like, oh my god!
What is happening?
What is happening?
Yeah. See, again, I don't remember my responses, I just remember the way that I felt, like emotionally.
I think you wanted to have like a full-on panic response every single time, and then you were stifling it before it could get to that point.
Well, I was probably switching.
That makes sense.
Potentially.
Yeah. I don't want to portray myself as some kind of like, I'm such a hero, you know, but other people would make you jump to give themselves something to laugh at, basically, and be like, haha, look, Chloe's been jumpy again, look, she's just freaking out for no reason, isn't it really funny, let's do it again. I remember actively being like, stop doing that.
Thank you.
That's clearly not funny. You're making someone really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that probably hurts because you're doing it over and over and over again, so maybe let's not. Thank you. Clearly nobody listened to me anyway, so...
no, apparently not. Sorry about that. Thank you for sticking up for us, though.
That's all right. I don't think you should have to be sorry, should you?
Right, what else is on our list before I dissociate out of my brain?
This whole video has just been a deep dive into your traumatic teenage years.
This is like the most surface level stuff. Made us jump and stuff like that. It's not traumatic in itself, but the thing to pay attention to is the fact that we were hyper aroused and having trauma responses to basic things like being touched or people coming up to us unexpectedly above and beyond a normal, oh my goodness, didn't realise you were there kind of response.
And then what you were saying, putting ourselves in corners and making sure that we were constantly able to see what was around us, and not having our back to doors and things like that is also indicative of trauma. I don't want people to watch this and be like, oh, she's trying to make out that, being made to jump is traumatic, and, that wasn't the trauma. The trauma was like really intense abuse. This was a sign of the fact that other abuse was happening. Just wanted to clarify. In case someone's like, she got DID from being made to jump. No, babes. No, babes, it's the child abuse, actually.
I can't believe you do this.
I can't believe you've done this.
I don't know who you think you are.
No, who do you think I am?
That's an interesting question, actually, because it's not always the same answer.
No.
You could be anyone.
Could be.
Right, come on then.
You want some?
I'll give it
I'll give it you. I'll have some. Right.
What?
So the other thing was noticeable differences in how touchy we were or physically affectionate. You said that you noticed something.
Yes. Because,
Excuse me. Sorry. Sorry, I burped.
as we had discussed earlier, Nadia, very touchy, quite happy to sort of grab hold of you, want to hug you, enthusiastic because she was really excited about everything all the time.
Yeah.
It was like that, almost like childlike excitement of like grabbing your arm and like leading you somewhere if she was excited about something. So it's like a flower, for example, which I think I mentioned to you before.
Yeah.
Like when she'd seen something that she thought was really pretty, she thought other people should also experience that because it made her happy, so she thought it should make other people happy, I presume. Because that just seems like the kind of cute stuff she would do. Particularly if she thought you were having like a hard time, she'd be like, oh, this cheered me up, so maybe this will cheer you up. Come and have a look. So she'd like...
It's very cute.
Adorable.
Yeah, it
so
is.
like, come and like drag you by the arm and just be like, come on, follow me. Like, we'll go and look at it together. But then, see, this is where I don't know almost what Chloe was like. Because at school, any experience I had, I assumed would have just been Chloe because I wouldn't have known any different.
Yeah.
I don't actually think that Chloe was that bothered about being touched. In fact, I think it made her actively uncomfortable when people would touch her a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
Just because, see, I don't know what Alter would have been when, if that makes any sense.
It makes full sense, yeah.
I think a lot of the subdued behaviour and sat there and not really wanting to talk to anyone was almost what Chloe was like as a baseline a lot of the time. And just being quiet. So I just don't think she was that fussed about being like touching people and like was not likely to want to grab someone's hand or anything. I feel like this is not making any sense.
No, it's making perfect sense. I'm just interested in... I don't want to say anything that's going to change your thoughts because I want to know what your experience was, and then I can tell you how I remember things from Chloe's perspective.
I'm just trying to think
you're
if I'd ever
interested.
seen anything in terms of physicality, anything like what's the word? Not violent, because that's not the word I'm looking for.
Enthusiastic?
No,
Forceful?
yeah, but so I want to say aggressive, but not in
terms
like
of like a rejection?
Yeah.
Or a... Oh, okay.
certain things would obviously make you very uncomfortable, like the rib shocking thing.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
It hurts a lot.
And I think the most sort of violent thing I'd ever seen out of you was an elbow. Because if someone was behind you, most of the time your natural reaction was to move away or to try and get away, to twist away and to put your back to something so that nobody could come up behind you again. But in situations where you couldn't do that, it was like watching like a little switch flick and you were just like, okay, well, I'm going to hit you then.
With an elbow?
Yeah, just
Like
straight behind like this.
Yeah.
But you would never normally do that. And then after that had happened, if you realised you'd hurt someone, it would almost be like, sorry about that. I didn't actually mean to,
He just went,
sorry
about that.
You'd almost look at people like, why are you doubled over? I don't really understand.
Right, here's my perspective on that. I'm assuming our initial response, as you said, would be to move away from something. If that was not possible, fight response would go off. So probably Ruby would, the immediate response is, we are being hurt, escape is not possible at this time. React, fight, and then realising, oh, we're not actually in danger. I don't need to be here.
Bye.
And then me switching back in.
And
being
no
like,
idea what happened.
Yeah, except that someone's obviously doubled over and in pain behind us. I must have accidentally jabbed someone.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Which makes sense as to if I was like,
what is going on?
Sorry, like what's happening?
Because I think I remember you being overly apologetic.
Well, I was quite overly apologetic about everything, to be honest.
Which you shouldn't have been. So it was almost like a kind of a fear thing of like why don't I remember doing that? Did I do that? Like, what's going on?
I think it was a bit of both, because also it didn't really matter in our life what our intentions were. If we behaved in the wrong way, we were going to get hurt for it. So the only response was to be as overly apologetic as possible, because it genuinely was a panic of, well, first of all, we never wanted to hurt anybody. That's not the kind of people that any of us really were. That was a reaction to, I'm in pain and there's no other way to make it stop. But we didn't actually want to cause anyone pain. So there was obviously the response there of, oh God, I'm really, really sorry. Because Chloe especially cared a lot about people, even if they were hurting her. She would be incredibly concerned about them, which is half the reason we ended up in so many situations that we did. So there was that, and then also definitely what you said of not actually having memory of what exactly had happened. So panicking about it, because I didn't really know what had gone on.
Yeah, because that is scary.
Yeah. But I don't
No memory
think
of it.
that was so normal to me that I didn't really know anything else. I didn't know that that was something abnormal. Because, you know, when people talk about zoning out and
I suppose
stuff,
that's just what you thought was happening, that you just
yeah,
kind of
I just
zoned
thought that I
out.
was tired. Or
Just
something.
really tired.
Yeah, and I was like, oh God, I wasn't paying attention.
Just really tired.
Rather
I've lost
than-
6 hours of my day.
Yeah, well, I was like, you know, like nobody actually remembers everything.
What did you do at school today? I don't remember.
Yeah. Because, like, I'd see, you know, people would say stuff like that. Like, if I was going around someone's house or whatever, and they'd be like, oh, how was school? And they'd be like, it was alright, I didn't really remember that much, or like, I wasn't really paying that much attention or something. And I'd be like, well, yeah, same. But I literally had no memory at all, or very little bits of memory. But it's interesting, because what you were saying is what you consider to be Chloe's baseline of being quite withdrawn. That was not Chloe.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think most of me when I was Chloe, most of my interactions probably happened with people in class, because I studied really hard and I worked really hard. But I also was quite friendly as a person.
Big brain energy.
Oh, big brain. Those A stars had to come from somewhere. That was so
It's the
shit.
world's
Nadia.
shittest.
That's better. Fucking hell. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. You're right.
Tingling.
Yeah, me too. Sorry about
I've
that.
got pins and needles now.
Yeah, me too. And all the way down my leg. But that's fine.
Unrelated.
Unrelated. He hasn't slapped me in the leg. Did slap me on the arse when I turned to hit the thing on. It's been a long, hard
God.
day.
What a day.
Yeah,
What a day.
so there's that. I don't think that was actually Chloe. And also you saying Chloe didn't really like to be touched that much, or like wasn't really that bothered about touching other people. My love language was touch.
Intriguing.
Yeah. I really liked giving people hugs. I remember cuddling you.
So what this
A lot.
tells me
Yeah.
is that in the times where I would have seen Chloe at school,
Chloe, you went.
the only times would have been between lessons.
Yes.
So therefore, I wouldn't necessarily have seen her that much, because she would have been elsewhere doing other stuff.
I do have a lot of memories as Chloe of seeing you outside of school, like when we would hang out. But that was Chloe.
Yeah. So then that makes sense, because how you would behave in those interactions was completely different to how you would behave at school.
How so?
Because as I say, the only times I would see you at school would have been between lessons. And that's when you were more likely to be slightly more withdrawn, I suppose, or just like the complete opposite and just off your tits happy. But that was,
Nadia.
yeah, someone else dealing with whatever was going on in school.
Yeah.
And if Chloe was present during the lessons to kind of deal with all the academic stuff,
Yeah.
and then Nadia's coming out to try and deal with all the social business that's happening between lessons and to navigate that situation, then I suppose that would make sense as to why the interactions that I then had when you were outside of school, when none of those things were happening, would just be completely different. So that's when you were more likely to be like asking me how things were at home. What were we talking about that one time when it was really hot? Do you remember when it was really, really hot? I'm asking someone with amnesia if they remember one time. Because, listen.
Give me some more some more detail.
On the
Yes.
the grassy bit, I remember
Yes.
sitting on there and it being unbelievably hot. It was so hot. And we decided it was the best idea to just go and wander around for hours on end.
Oh, I do remember this. That was when you were quite upset about your grandma.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. That was definitely Chloe.
Because I remember being really upset and just being sat with you and you being like, it's going to be alright. Like,
Yeah.
regardless of like what's kind of going on, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, that's
And then
what
just
I was
distracting me with like ridiculous stuff.
ridiculous stuff.
We're just making jokes and things.
Yeah, that's what Chloe was like. I mean, I wasn't like loud, but I wouldn't say I was withdrawn and quiet unless I was very, very depressed. But I was...
Maybe you were just depressed a lot.
Well, I was. I was very depressed a lot. But like when I was around people, like my energy was quite soft, loving, very like therapist friend, you know.
Oh my god, yes, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, that was
Therapist
Chloe.
friend.
Yeah.
That kind of makes me sad.
Why?
Well, because if you're acting as therapist friend, who's doing that for you?
No one. Sorry, that came out a bit
Wow, okay. I
Well,
feel
that was-
attacked. Sorry.
No, you were amazing. I wish that we'd spent like more time together.
Well, unfortunately,
but I was...
your boyfriend didn't like me, so
No,
it wasn't gonna happen. So.
he hated you.
Is it because I was nice to you?
I think maybe so. I think he felt threatened. I think he knew that you had a crush on him.
Shut up.
He didn't like you at all. I tried to get him to explain a number of times, and he couldn't really explain it, except that he found you annoying. You can also be, you know, not everybody's cup of tea. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to people. And he didn't like that very much.
No.
No.
I found him annoying.
Yes. Almost everybody did. To be fair, that's covered a lot. That's also been very insightful for me.
Well, I'm glad it's been helpful.
Very. I feel like I have a much broader picture of what my school life was like now.
I feel really bad about it in a way because I feel like I wasn't there enough.
It wasn't your
And there
responsibility
was
to
lots
be
of
there.
stuff going on that I was just blissfully unaware of.
I mean, that's how DID works. It was supposed to keep you unaware.
Yeah, I know, but
There was nothing you could have done, even if you were more aware.
yeah, true that.
Yeah, it's not your fault in any way. There's
Yeah.
nothing anyone could have done if they were a child.
Yeah, I could have made your school life a bit more bearable.
You did. Thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you for having me in your home.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. I'll make you some sausage. We
Excellent.
can have a tasty sausage dinner.
I can't wait to taste your sausage.
All good?
All good.
Anything to add? Last minutes?
Subscribe.
Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Ring the bell to get an alert for when we upload, because otherwise YouTube won't tell you and then you'll never see us again, which would be very, very sad. That sounded extremely sarcastic, but I'm sure it would absolutely ruin your day.
I'd be devastated.
I would be devastated as well. Yeah. Devoed. We do have a legal fundraiser to raise money to be able to afford our lawyers, because we are currently fighting someone who was very cruel to us in court and trying to get our justice, and that is how we afford to pay our lawyers. If you would like to have a look at that, that is crowdjustice.com/case/dissociative. The money goes straight to our lawyers from Crowd Justice. We can't access it. It doesn't come into our bank account. It bypasses us completely, and it can only be used by our lawyers for this specific case against Sergio Costa. Also, if you would like to support us and get rewards, you can join our Patreon, and you can have a look at that for free, or you can join it for as low as £1 or $1 a month. And we have loads of little rewards on there, including things like bloopers, merch. You can vote on what videos you want to see. We have exclusive videos, behind the scenes, all sorts of stuff. We also have like little random shit posts about me hating parsley and things, so if you want something to laugh at, you'll enjoy that. Yes, that's a legit thing. We've had like 4 rants on there just about how much I fucking hate parsley. But yes, thank you for watching. It was lovely to see you. Take care of yourselves. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.